Hello, my dear students, and welcome to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes. I'm your mentor Amit Ajmani, and today we'll be taking up a very interesting topic, idioms. Now, what exactly is an idiom? An idiom is an expression that takes on a figurative meaning. Now, these idioms are actually certain words combining together and they form a figurative meaning which is different from the literal meaning of the individual words with which this idiom is made. For example, just in order to give you a basic idea of what exactly we mean by the above statement, to beat black and blue. To beat, we know what is meant by beating. Black and blue are colors, so we are not actually beating the colors. Similarly, a hard nut to crack, the literal meaning is that we are having some eatable item, the nuts, and they are so hard that we are not able to crack it. This is the literal meaning of the combination of these words. But when we use it in the form of an expression together, then the meaning of these expressions becomes entirely different from the literal meaning, or it is different from the definition of the words of which they are made. For example, in the same two examples, try to relate the symbolic meaning, the figurative meaning. Figuratively, the meanings are to beat very badly. If we are saying to beat black and blue, it is not actually beating the colors, but it is beating someone that after beating he becomes black and blue. His color becomes black and blue skin color. That means he has been beaten so badly. So if we want to say that somebody has beaten someone very badly, so we will say that Mr. X has beaten Mr. Y black and blue. Similarly, if we are using the word a hard nut to crack, we are not trying to crack a nut in order to eat it. No, it means a very difficult problem or situation which you are not able to solve. You are not able to take out the solution. This is what it means. So you see, the meaning, the figurative meaning of these expressions are entirely different from those which we interpret just by reading the words. Knowing their dictionary meaning doesn't make any advantage to us. It is basically the figurative meaning that is important. Now, what are the advantages of idioms? I think just by reading two above examples, you should be able to relate the advantages of your own. Idioms add flavor and style to the language. It's a different style, speaking something which has altogether different meaning. And if a idiom is used in the right place, it not only shows your knowledge, but it also puts forward the thought more convincingly. Because, again, taking the same example, if we say that Mr. X has beaten Mr. Y black and blue, you form an image of Mr. Y, how black and blue colors they, you can visualize and you can relate that yes, he must have been beaten so badly. I can relate. He has turned black, he has turned blue at many places on the body. Clear? So the words, they actually show the expression more convincingly if we are using any idiom. The important aspect is to know the idioms, to know their meanings, and to use them in your language. You can use them anywhere. You can use them in article writing. You can use them in presentations, even boardroom discussions. That also require a good command over language, and it is only possible when you add these idioms and phrases in your vocabulary. Of course, with practice, no doubt about it. In English, nothing is just you learnt once and that's it. No, you learnt it, you understood it, but unless until you actually apply it, it is just like so many other processes, like swimming. There is no point standing on the side of the pool and just moving your arms in air and you convince yourself that you know swimming. Never. It will never come this way. You have to jump. You have to consistently practice. It is just like cooking. You read so many recipes out of so many books, but the moment you will practically apply it, only then you will be able to relate what is wrong and what is right, what is lacking, how to improve that, what about the amount of salt to be added, what about the amount of sugar or any spice to be added. Once, twice, thrice, four times, five times, when you make it consistently, continuously for some time, after a stage, now you will master it because now you know what were the various areas where you were doing errors and now you have overcome. This exactly is the same thing that you need to apply as far as English is concerned. As far as your vocabulary is concerned, we have taken so many topics of this vocabulary, and many of these you must have forgotten. I am so sure about it. Reason? One simple reason is you actually do not do what the teacher tells you to. It doesn't require much time, it doesn't require so much of effort. No, just 15 minutes per day. That is it. Only 15 minutes per day. Just reviewing what all you have read one by one. That's it. Nothing else you require. Once you get into the habit of doing it 15 minutes every day on a regular continuous basis without break, I can guarantee you within 1 month you will see so much of change in yourself. You don't have to give an exam to check out. You don't have to ask somebody else to check out whether you improved or not. You yourself will feel, you will realize, you will see the difference on your own. And I think that is more than sufficient, which will then motivate you to work further. But initial 1 month, that is the period you need to focus, you need to control, you need to sit, you need to be disciplined. Fine. So that is what is being said, that if you want to increase your vocabulary, add idioms. Now there are so many idioms. We are discussing a few. What exactly are the idioms? What exactly is the actual figurative meaning and how we use them? We'll make one sentence each so that we are able to understand them better. Let us try to relate one by one. Definitely, it's not possible that if we are doing 40-50 idioms, you will read once and you will be able to learn. No, just try to take 5 idioms per day. That's it. Let us come to the first. Black sheep. Now, black sheep, actually, it is not the color of the sheep. The meaning is odd one in the family, the odd one, the different one. How we use it? The younger son is the black sheep in the family because he is altogether different from all the other family members. Coming to the next idiom, a bed of roses. A bed of roses doesn't mean that there are so many rose flowers kept on the bed. No, it actually means a comfortable life with all the luxuries, all the facilities that one requires. That is called a bed of roses. And this is what has been explained in the sentence. Do not expect life to be a bed of roses. Do not expect that your life will be comfortable throughout with all the luxuries. There will be many ups and downs in life also, many tough times also. So life is not a bed of roses. It is not always like fairy tales. No. Clear? Next, we have just seen in the above example, to beat black and blue means to beat very badly. Example is, the public beat the thief black and blue. That means the people, the public, they beat the thief so badly that we have used the term black and blue. Next, to blow one's trumpet. Now, trumpet is a musical instrument. To blow one's trumpet is to praise oneself a lot. If a person is doing self praise, that is blowing his own trumpet. Example is, my friend has the habit of blowing his own trumpet. That means he always keeps on praising himself. Right? Next, kith and kin. Kith and kin refers to one's relatives and friends. They are called kith and kin. Example, during times of need, kith and kin are the only help. Whenever we need someone, it is our relatives, our friends who come to our rescue for our help. Clear? A hard nut to crack, just seen in the above example, it's a difficult thing or a problem. Example is, the last question in the exam was a hard nut to crack. It was such a difficult question that you never had any solution of it. Right? You could not solve it. So for you, it was a hard nut which you were not able to crack it. Clear? A cold reception. Now, there are times when these literal meanings are so funny that we literally, when you visualize them, you will laugh. One of these is cold reception. Reception is the area we know in the hotels, in the lobbies. That is the reception. Cold means the AC is working very fast, very good. No, it's not. The actual meaning of this phrase, this expression, this idiom is, cold reception is the cold feelings reception. Unwelcomed, indifferent attitude. The guests felt bad when they got a cold reception at the party. They were unwelcomed. They were shown an indifferent attitude, and it was a very cold feeling attitude which they were greeted with. Fine. Next is lion's share. Lion's share means a major part. Example is, the elder son took the lion's share of the family wealth. That he took a major part of the family wealth. Next, other fish to fry. Other fish to fry is not that I have fried one fish and I have got two, three, four more. The figurative meaning is other important work to do. Example is, please be quick. I have other fish to fry. Do it fast because I have some other important work to do. I have to go and I have to do that work. I need to wind up with what you are doing right now. Clear? All and sundry means one and all, everyone included. The minister invited all and sundry to his son's wedding. He never left anyone, everyone he called. So one and all is all and sundry. Next idiom is spick and span. Spick and span figuratively means clean, neat, and organized. And it is always used with the places, the areas, the rooms. Like my friend's room is always spick and span, always neat, clean, and organized. Everything at its place. Next, a square meal. Once again, we are not eating something in a square shape. or a rectangular shape. Square doesn't show the shape. Square meal means complete meal. For example, the poor in our country find it difficult to get a square meal, leave alone buy luxuries. That they are so poor that they are not able to even get food to fill their bellies, to fill their stomach, right? Now just imagine, just for a second, try to imagine if someone doesn't know the meaning, what exactly that person will think when he will read this particular sentence. The poor in our country find it difficult to get a square meal. That means it is very difficult to find a square meal. Circular meal and triangular meal and rectangular meal and pentagonal meal and hexagonal meal are available. But square shaped meal is not available. Funny, huh? This is what at times it means when we look at the literal meanings. But it is what idioms are all about. They change the meaning altogether. Next idiom is to take French leave. That is to take leave uninformed. That is to take French leave. Example is, gone are the days when employees could take a French leave without informing they are leaving. Gone are those days. Now everyone has to inform why they are leaving, why they are not coming to the office, why they have taken an off. Next idiom is man of straw. Man of straw means man of no substance. He is not reliable, right? That person who is unreliable, that person who is of no substance, that is called man of straw. Example is, don't believe your neighbor, he is a man of straw. He is unreliable person. You should not rely, you should not believe him. Clear? Next, a bolt from the blue means an unexpected disaster which never ever was expected by you, and it is used in term of disasters. A bolt from the blue, bolt is just like a shock that you have got out of nowhere, right? For example, Narendra Modi's demonetization is like a bolt from the blue for those dealing in black money. It was a shock, unexpected disaster for them, a calamity for them. Clear? Next idiom is a fair weather friend. Fair weather is good weather. So it means a friend only in good times. That means a manipulative friend, a false friend, a friend who is along with you only when good time is going on with you, and once you need him in your bad and difficult times, you will not find him anywhere. This is what a fair friend, fair weather friend means, right? For example, I have only one true friend. The rest are all fair weather friends. They are just with me till I am having money in my pocket and having good time. I am spending on them. Once I refuse, they will run away. Next, beat around the bush. It means digress from the main topic. That means you are distracted from the main topic. You are just beating around the bush. Example is, the manager does not want his team members to beat around the bush. He wants results. He doesn't want them to just roam here and there trying, making efforts in the wrong place, wrong direction. He just wants results. So beating around the bush means you are actually distracted from the main topic. You are not focusing on the main thing. That is beating around the bush. Next idiom is the ball is in your court, means it's your chance. It means someone else's turn to make a move. It's your decision now. This is what we are trying to say. I told my boss that if he doesn't pay me more money, I will leave. Now the ball is in his court. That he has to decide now whether he want to pay me more money or he wants me to leave. So it will be his decision. Clear? Next is whole 9 yards. Whole 9 yards means all of it, everything that is possible, including everything that is whole 9 yards. Example, the mountain trail was difficult, but I wanted to go the whole 9 yards. I wanted to walk the whole trail, not leaving anything whatsoever. Clear? Next idiom is keep something at bay. Keep something at bay means to stop something that could be a problem for you from getting close or getting worse. That is keeping something at bay, at corner, right? A good way of keeping your anxiety at bay is to meditate. If you want to keep your anxieties away from you, or other way around, if you want to keep yourself away from your anxieties, then meditate. Fine. Next is at the drop of a hat. At the drop of a hat means immediately, instantly. The moment the hat is dropped down and touches the ground, in the same second, the response is there. This is at the drop of a hat. Example is, don't let Namrita watch those emotional serials. She cries at the drop of a hat. Instantly she cries. Every second she sees any particular emotional or sentimental scene, she cries immediately. Okay. Next is a Herculean task. Herculean task means a very difficult job to do. Something which requires so much of effort, that task is called as Herculean task. Convincing my mother to let me go for a night stay is a Herculean task. Being a topper in your entrance examination across India is a Herculean task. You have to work so hard about it. It's not any casual approach required. You need to make effort. It's a Herculean task. It's a difficult job. Not everyone gets it. Fine. Next, gift of gab. Gift of gab is speaking fluently. Our English teacher definitely has the gift of gab. The listeners are in awe of his speech. He speaks so fluently that everybody who listens to their English teacher, they are awestruck. So these are a few idioms. Every time I take a topic in vocabulary, after completing the examples given as per your book, as per your syllabus, I always use the word these are a few, because when you actually relate the English language as a whole, or any language for that matter, any language, the languages are so vast, and it is just that we are using it normally in our day-to-day communication, logically, grammatically, practically. There are so many different uses depending upon the areas, depending upon the people, depending upon the way they communicate, depending upon their circumstances, their situations, depending upon their experiences. So many things are adding up daily. You start communicating with one person, and after 1 month, you can gain so much out of him. And there are more than 700 billion people in the world. You start communicating with any one of them, you learn so much in 1 month. Just think how much you need to gain. How much is there to gain across the world with these 700 billion population? So these are a few idioms. Lots and lots and lots, many are more. Just try to practice these, try to remember these, and just work out on the others also side by side. It's a continuous process. Building up vocabulary takes years, right? It is just that we are practicing from the exam point of view. That is why we are restricting ourselves, because we have a limited time span to prepare, and we need to do only the main things. We need to get the idea of things. Rest, it's a language. So many. Now, after doing these a few idioms, let us try to do some exercise. Let us try to relate how questions will come to us and how we are going to reply. Let us try to relate how well we have understood till now. Now, in this question number 1, what we need to do is identify the idiom in the given sentences. So, first of all, we need to identify that in these sentences, which exactly is a particular group of words which is a bit different, right? This is the way of identifying the idioms, and determine the meaning from the context. So, you need to just have your eyes and brain and ears all open in order to read, comprehend, and just try to make out what exactly they would mean in these sentences. Let us see the first question. I know that the fight that they had yesterday seemed serious. Everything coming very normal and casual. All the words are making same meaning as per us. Let us continue. But that's just the tip of an iceberg. Now we are talking about fight. Where exactly iceberg came in between the fight? That means it is an idiom. See, this is how we actually identify a particular idiom. It should sound strange in that particular usage, because we have just said in the beginning of the lecture, idioms are a group of words whose figurative meaning is seen and understood, not the literal meaning. So, tip of the iceberg has nothing to do with the fight between two people. They are not fighting in Antarctica at the poles. No. So, this is the idiom tip of the iceberg. So the first part we are able to do, we have identified the idiom. Now we have to determine the meaning from the context. Now, tip of the iceberg means that just like an iceberg above the surface of water, it is just a small part which is seen. Below the water, the iceberg may be huge. Similar meaning it has here, that the fight they had yesterday, it seems serious, but it is just a small part of it. The actual thing is yet to come. Clear? Next, I called in sick all week. I called that I was sick throughout the week before the summer vacation. Normal sentence. But now I have to face the music. What exactly is meant by using this particular group of words? Face the music. This is an idiom. How can you face the music? You listen to the music. No, it sounds something strange. And this is how you need to have a look at the sentences. I called in sick all week before the summer vacation, but because of that, now I have to face the music. This is the idiom, and it means to face the consequences, to face the results. So the person is saying that he always called that he was sick all before the summer vacations, and as a result of that, now when he'll be going, he has to just bear all the consequences. Fine. Let us see the next sentence. Tara jumped on the bandwagon and got her ear pierced after all of her classmates pierced their ears. Okay, try to relate once again that what exactly Tara did. She got her ear pierced. Why? Because all of her classmates have already pierced their ears. So now, is the piercing of the ears so painful that she has started jumping on the bandwagon? What exactly jumping on bandwagon mean to you, or how exactly it is related with the piercing of the ears? That means this is an idiom. Now, jumping on the bandwagon means that there is something which all the other people were doing, and because other people were doing, so you also got attracted and you also just jumped on the continuing going bandwagon. Everybody has jumped, so you will also jump. This is what exactly it conveys. Doing something, getting attracted to it because all the other people have done it or are doing it. That is jumping on the bandwagon. Clear? Let us see the next one. Tommy's mother didn't even lecture him after he came home late again. Tommy's mother never gave a lecture this time, even though he came late again. So it's quite normal sentence. It was like beating a dead horse. Tommy is coming late. What has a horse to do with it? And that too a dead horse. Doesn't make any sense. And wherever you don't make any sense of a sentence, that means there is something which you need to know. Because as per the literal meanings, you find no sense of a dead horse related to Tommy or Tommy's mother or the lecturing process or coming home late again. So that means this is an idiom, and the meaning of this idiom is beating a dead horse means you are wasting your effort on something which can't be restored, can't be rectified, can't be corrected. That is beating a dead horse. If you are beating a horse who is dead, your beating cannot bring him back to life. You are making efforts in the wrong direction. You are wasting your efforts. This is what beating a dead horse means. Clear? Next, when Mrs. Banerjee told the students that she was going to share the answers, normal thing that Mrs. Banerjee, she told that I'll share all the answers. When she told the students, they were all ears. They were all ears. Once again, doesn't make any proper sense. And whenever you don't get any proper sense with the literal meaning, there you see that these are the idioms. They were all ears means they were listening, they were focusing, and they were concentrating, and they all were listening properly, getting involved. That is all ears. Fine. Next, while the boss was away, boss has gone somewhere, the two workers decided, okay, a decision made by two workers to shoot the breeze over a cup of coffee. They decided to have a cup of coffee. Now, what exactly a cup of coffee going to relate with shooting the breeze? Makes any sense? No. Idiom. Shoot the breeze is an idiom. It actually means that you are talking about some unimportant things just to pass your time. So the two workers, they decided that they will have a cup of coffee and they will talk idly while the boss was away. Right? Next, Dad wanted to let me off the hook, but Mom said he made his bed Now he has to lie in it. Now there are two idioms used in this. First thing is, Dad wanted to let me off the hook. It's not at all possible that the person saying this is just hung around with a hook on the wall. No. So let me off the hook means just trying to get rid of somebody of their responsibilities. It is that you are making someone free of his responsibilities. So dad wanted that he should be free of his responsibilities, but mom said he made his bed, right? Now he has to lie in it. Now this is again an idiom. Making the bed doesn't mean that actually you are going on the bed and you are just putting the just bed sheet etc. No, he made his bed. Now he has to lie in it means he has done something and now he has to face the consequences of it himself. This is making the bed and lying on it means. Clear? Next, you knew there was no answer to this problem, yet you sent me on a wild goose chase. Something strange. There was some problem, there was no answer of it. That doesn't mean you will go to the forest for hunting. No. Sending for a wild goose chase means you are chasing something which is unexpected to find, which you yourself are not much hopeful to find. That is a wild goose chase. You don't know where the wild goose is. He lives in burrows. You cannot find him. Still, you are trying to chase him. That is a foolish way of doing something which you yourself are not sure of. Clear? So, these are a few idioms additionally that we have studied earlier. Fine? So, that was question number one. Let us come to question number two now. Select the correct meaning of the idioms or phrases given below. First of all, we are given a particular phrase or idiom, and out of the options, we have to find the correct meaning. Bone of contention. Bone of contention means the subject of dispute. Just like two dogs or two animals are fighting for a bone, similarly, two people are fighting on a particular subject. So, that subject of dispute, of argument, of fight is called bone of contention. Clear? The next idiom is to rule the roost. To rule the roost means to dominate. I am telling you the answers. If you already know, very good. If you don't, please note it down or keep it in your mind. Okay. Next is to grease the palm. To grease the palm means to offer bribe to someone. You are greasing the palm of any official for having your work done. That is bribing. Clear? The next idiom is storm in a teacup. Now this is quite good to relate. There was a small teacup and you are creating storm in it. This is actually making a big issue out of a small thing. It was a very small thing, but because of the clash of the egos or because of any reason, you are trying to make a big issue of it. This is what is meant by storm in a teacup. Next is long for. Long for, I think everybody knows. Desire. I long for a better life. I long for a 10 crore lottery. I long for his return. That means I desire. Next is pen and ink. Pen and ink means in writing. Pen and ink is everything should be in writing. Clear? Next is take after. Now, what exactly is meant by take after? Take after is resemble. This is take after. Next is a far cry. far cry means very different from others. It's a far cry, it's different. Now this is quite good. Hobson's choice. Hobson's choice means no choice at all. This is what we use. Hobson's choice. No choice at all. Fine. In the pink of health, we use this in our letters, all the informal letters that we write, mostly when we were kids, right? Then we used to start the letter that I hope that this letter finds you in the pink of your health. Pink of your health means best of health, because if a person is white or black, it shows that he is ill. Pink, it represents good health. So in the pink of health is in the best of health. Okay. So this was our second question. Let us come to the third question now. In third question, what we are being asked, select the suitable substitute for the word in italics. Okay. In the sentences, so in the sentences, one word will be in italics given below, right? And ensure that the meaning of the sentence does not change. Fine. Now in the following sentences, I do not find any italics, so I think it is being something while we have printed it or copied it. So I'll just underline the words which exactly are required to be replaced. Okay. Lack of education has retarded the nation's progress. Now, lack of education, nation's progress, it simply means that if the education is not there, the nation cannot progress. So, improved is altogether a wrong word, right? Retarded is slackened, decrease the nation's progress. Fine. The cream offers blemish-free skin results. Blemish-free means there will be no blemish on the skin. So, the actual correct suitable substitute is flawless. Flawless, without any flaw. Right? Next, the army captain was awarding the Paramveer Chakra posthumously. Posthumously means after death. Okay, this is the replacement for posthumously. Next, the magician's tricks mesmerize the audience. Mesmerize means fascinated. Okay, next, seeing the artist work with such finesse, the crowd cheered. This is expertise, that the crowd is cheering because they can see the artist working with so much of expertise. If it would have been a casual work, nobody would have cheered. It would have been unwillingness, nobody would have cheered. When it comes to authority, nobody likes authority. So it is the expertise, perfectness, the perfection in the work. Next is, the match was a complete fiasco for the foreign team. Fiasco means failure. It was a complete failure for the foreign team because they must have lost, obviously. Next, the demure actress has won the hearts of the public. Demure means shy. So the shy actress has won the hearts of the public. Next, his parents were adamant about not sending their son for a 2-day trip. They were adamant means they were inflexible. Adamant means inflexible. That whatever decision you have taken, you stick to it. You are not flexible enough. You are not adjustable enough to change your decisions. That is adamant. Correct? Next, a sluggard would be a misfit in the army. Sluggard means lazy. In the army, there is no place for lazy people. So he is a misfit in the army if he is a sluggard. Correct? Let us see the next one. Finishing the 10-page homework in 2 days is a tedious job. Tedious means tough job, right? Tedious means tough. So these are a few substitutes that we can use for the words. Clear? Let us come to the next question. In this, what we are required to do is fill in the blanks with the most suitable option. Out of the 4 options given, we have to use any one. Now, very importantly here, your vocabulary comes into play, because if we are looking at these 4 words, we have to use one. We need to know the meanings of all 4. No? That is when you will be able to use one. So for that purpose, right now what you are going to do is, I'll be telling you the correct answers, but all the options, just take it as your homework. Try to find out the meanings through the dictionary and note it down with you, so that if out of these words anywhere anything is used, you are already familiar with it. This is how we increase our vocabulary. This is how we need to work. Correct? Let us see. Out of the 2 new workers, one is experienced while the other is a novice. Novice means opposite of experienced, a fresher, inexperienced person. That is known as novice. Okay? Next. Now the next one is, let us see. The dash data collected is not helpful in any way to reach a conclusion. Now the correct option here is C, erratic. Erratic means off and on, not continuous, not reliable. That is called erratic. So the erratic data collected by any authority is considered to be not helpful in any way to reach any conclusion. Next is, it was quite humorous to see the dash minister talk about health and fitness issues. Now, because we are saying it was humorous, so that means the minister himself must not be healthy and fit. And that is why it is just in contrast that he himself is not fit and he is talking about health and fitness. So the correct word is rotund, which means circular or spherical in shape. So he himself is quite circular in shape, he himself is quite fat, and he is talking about health and fitness issues. That is why it is quite ironical, quite humorous. Fine. Next, the dash rainfall in desert regions has led to a risk of famine. It can't be, of course, abundant. It can't be expensive. It can't be worthy. It is scanty. Scanty means meagre. Scanty means less than what exactly is needed. That is scanty, which makes perfect sense that in desert regions the rainfall was quite less. That is why there is a risk of famine. Clear? Next, the sage is leading a dash life in the mountain peaks. Now, whenever we are talking about a sage, sage in itself means the spiritual teachers, the wise people. So he is leading some life in the mountain peaks. Obviously, it has to be spiritual. Can't be boring, can't be ghostly, may be graceful, but who is there to see the grace? So, because it is the sage, that is the spiritual people, the teachers, the wise persons. So, the spiritual word is perfect over here. Let us come to the next question. Dash arrangements were made for the wedding. Now, if we are talking about wedding, then in that case there are actually similar meaning words over here which are being used. For example, one of them is handsome. You may write handsome, that handsome is good arrangements were made, right? Annual arrangements, it can't be. Childish arrangements, should not be. Next is ostentatious. Now, ostentatious means that it is something to attract notice. Fine. So, after knowing the meaning of ostentatious, you will find that this is much more a better word as far as the arrangement, wedding arrangements are concerned. Why? Because these are ostentatious, means these are such arrangements which are made for attracting someone in a positive sense. Fine. Next, the music played in the function was dash. Lots of people were complaining about it. Now, there are so many times when there are certain things we can relate it ourselves. The first thing is whenever we are given a multiple choice question, if we know the answer, we will directly look for that answer. But if we don't know the answer, in that case, the best thing is just try to remove all the possible negative answers, the incorrect answers. And for that, try to take help from the question itself. The music is being played in the function and people were complaining it can't be melodious. Simple and straightforward, right? And because it was placed in the played in the function, it can't be destructive. It is not meant to destroy someone. Now, is it confusing or boisterous? These two options remain, right? Now, what exactly is meant by boisterous? Boisterous means violent, agitated, wild. So now when we compare confusing and agitating and violent, we will prefer this boisterous word to be used here because the music was so agitating and so violent, so noisy. It is also used for noisy. So it was too noisy and that is why complaints. Got it?